Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wim Lou. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast after the Raptors lose 125 to 117 in Boston. All things considered, especially considering the fact that you go into this game knowing that Scottie Barnes was not 100% and he did not play. Same thing with Brandon Ingram. I think those two guys, this is the first game both of those guys have missed all year. So you saw those guys get banged up late in that Hornets win. And yeah, tonight both of them were questionable, but eventually as the day went on, you just started seeing like the trend that they were getting, towards doubtful and then obviously eventually out. So first game without those guys. Obviously we've seen many games without Jakob. Hopefully Jakob's back this weekend. Raptors do play a back-to-back on Sunday and Monday against the Sixers. By the way, I believe that will be Kyle Lowry's last game in Toronto too. So definitely, if you can make time to go out and see the Raptors on either Sunday or on Monday when the Raptors play the Sixers twice, definitely get out there to see the GOAT one last time before he calls it quits after this season. But yeah, I mean, you're down, arguably your three best players, and you come into this with lowered expectations. Granted, I gotta say the Raptors really did fight really hard, and there is something to be said about how when the reserves are in there and they're given more time to play, and honestly they're given more freedom to play because they have the ball more, because the guys you typically would expect to have the ball, and Scottie and Brandon, the top two in usage in terms of just who has the ball the most, like you would expect to see obviously a new way to play, a redistribution, and sometimes there's even a small advantage in that. Like other teams can't exactly game plan and try to take away the predominant strategies that you would typically play with. There's no scouting report on Alijah Martin who got in the game. There's no real scouting report on seeing how the Raptors might attack without both Scottie and Brandon on the floor. And I gotta say, like, the guys put up a really good fight. I mean, were there moments where the Raptors look completely helpless against the Celtics? Absolutely. The Celtics will do that to the fully healthy Raptors, right? I mean, this has been the Raptors' ultimate bogey team. Like, we talk about, like, oh, the Hornets are a team that kind of trip you up once in a while. And, they have something there, obviously. You look at, I don't know. I mean, this is just, like, the toughest opponent for the Raptors. Like, the Raptors literally haven't beaten the Celtics in Boston, despite obviously being in the same division, so they play each other 4 times a year. They haven't beat them in Boston since Scottie's, second ever game in the NBA. That goes back to 2022, right? So this is just a team that we don't match up well against. They have supreme confidence against the Raptors, the way they shoot the three, the way they're able to attack. Honestly, even just how comfortable their guys feel. Like, Raptors got down early because Sam Hauser hit 4 threes in the first quarter. Then Payton Pritchard hit every turnaround jumper, just like every single time he plays the Raptors. Raptors actually did a good job on Jaylen Brown for the most part, considering the fact that Jaylen Brown's averaging like 30 basically. Raptors did a good job holding him to 25 on 6 of 16 shooting. He mostly got that at the foul line as well. Like, the Raptors really turned the ball over against him many times, forcing him to cough the ball up. I think Derek White came on stronger late, but for the most part of the game, it felt like he wasn't as impactful. Was mostly just, playing quarterback and playing point guard for the team and wasn't scoring as much. But you could say all that, but, like, yeah, the Raptors obviously have these moments where they just, like, collapse, start bleeding points. The Celtics are amazing in transition. They've never missed a three. Tonight, the Raptors even allowed too many threes, which I think is a bigger thing for the Celtics. Is like, they're usually taking a crazy high volume of screen. Like, this might be the season low for them. I got to look it up, but they only took 28 threes. But the thing is, like, when they take a three, they're making it, right? So anytime you're keeping them open, they're hitting the three. And of course, so they made 14 of 28 for 50% from three tonight. You look at the way the Raptors, were energetic. They flew around. They obviously had a lot of young guys playing tonight, sort of guys that have more energy. A lot of guys who haven't played this much, they're getting extended run. They're getting a chance to sort of go out there and be free. And, in that sense, like, especially considering the fact that, truthfully, I had conceded the loss even just going into this game. Like, I'm not expecting them to win a game like this, let alone even compete in a game like this, to be frank. I came into it with just a sense of, like, okay, let me see what these guys look like if they play with freedom. And a lot of them, I gotta say, like, a lot of guys acquitted themselves well. Like, defensively, that was definitely where the issue was. The Raptors have been really good on defense all season. And giving up 125 to Boston is not great. You can't just put that down to injuries, because the Celtics also were able to, just cut the Raptors apart, pump fakes, closeouts. The Raptors were really indisciplined on closeouts, constantly leaving their feet. Part of that is obviously you fear the Celtics from three, so guys are like selling out to close. They're not even just giving a regular closeout; they're like leaving their feet, they're leaping at the players. But guys like Derek White are so good at that, like pump fakes, take one step in, and then take the three. Once the Celtics got into the point where they were obviously hot from three, which is basically the start, they were able to maneuver and get their sound like inside the paint. They threw the lob a decent amount to guys like Keita, who at one point caught, tipped, and reversed in an alley-oop. It was kind of amazing to see, to be honest. Bit lucky, but certainly very, very impressive. And yeah, this, I think the Raptors defensively, they're, one of the takeaways is just they needed to do a lot better of a job in terms of communicating how to navigate these screens, right? There's obviously, when they put you in screens, there's probably some matchups that you don't want to switch, right? You probably want to keep your bigger body on a Keita, who's a 7-footer, and the Raptors tonight, they basically play with no 7-footers. You definitely want to keep certain matchups away from certain matchups. Like you obviously wanted your strongest defenders on Jaylen Brown, and then of course on Derek White, but that they just needed to switch, or just communicate a little bit better, because the Celtics were able to attack and exploit so many of those mismatches. But whatever, like defensively they weren't strong. Like there were moments where the Raptors got disruptive and got the Celtics to turn the ball over, and it felt like most of those were live ball turnovers too, so the Raptors were able to go the other way and score a lot in transition. But again, the big takeaway for me was just seeing like who was up for the fight, and guys getting extended run, like Mobo, for example. Jonathan Mobo has barely played all season. He plays 20 minutes tonight, Grady Dick gets 24 minutes. I don't remember the last time he got 24 minutes. Jamison Battle comes in for 12. I mean, that's a borderline miracle for him. Alijah Martin comes in for 15 minutes. AJ Lawson gets called up, plays 6 minutes. Jacoby gets to take 12 shots, including 9 threes, and he missed some early on, but ended up making 5 threes. So you got to see a lot of the young guys play with freedom. And man, I mean, I was really impressed, with the performances there. The only young guy that looked to be a little bit slower today was CMB. CMB had been an absolute monster the last couple of games, especially on the glass, but just in general, super impressive. But tonight, without the help of Scottie and Brandon out there, to just on both ends of the floor, quite frankly, because honestly, Brandon had been blocking a lot of shots too. It was kind of CMB alone defensively in the paint, and you did see moments where he was not as effective. Granted, I mean, he also had some good moments too. Like I'm saying this like he had a bad game. He didn't really have a bad game. He just didn't, he wasn't as good as the previous games. There was no like 15 rebounds when you look down at the box score. Tonight he only got 2. But at the same time, like even him, he had some impressive moments too, where one-on-one guarding Jaylen Brown and stopping him, one-on-one against Derek White and ripping the ball from him, like straight up clamping and ripping the ball away from him, getting out on the fast break and catching an alley-oop and dunking all over Payton Pritchard. I mean, that was sick. That was one of the best dunks of the Raptors season, was by CMB in transition there. And he like dunked all over Payton Pritchard and then like fell over Payton Pritchard. It was just carnage, really, to watch that. At times it was fun watching RJ and IQ work off of each other. Certainly IQ, even though he took 16 shots, which isn't even that many for a game where obviously the top 2 options are out. You might expect him to shoot more, but I thought this was one of IQ's best games of the season, primarily because of how confident and how free he played. Now, granted, number one, the Raptors needed to have IQ have the ball way more than usual, right? Usually IQ has the ball to like get it to Brandon in the post, or IQ has the ball to like maybe play pick and roll with Scottie. Otherwise, he's off the ball. He doesn't touch it for a while, doesn't get in a rhythm. And then, we've had a million discussions about IQ this season. Today, they were like, IQ, we need you to be our main creator. You and RJ are the show, right? The 905 show, right? So we just need to see both of you guys generate offense, the two of them kicking it to each other. They have this built-in chemistry that comes in from having spent so many years in New York and now spending so many times in Toronto as well. They just have a real chemistry. And I think it is a little comforting because, like, this kind of reminded me of the last 2 years where, okay, when Scottie's been out or when the Raptors haven't had Brandon Ingram, it was like, all right, these two guys got to cook. Now, whatever. Like, this is not my preferred choice. Obviously, you would like your best players to be in, and that does require some sacrifices. But I like seeing how free Quickley played. I mean, obviously, having hit the game winner last game against Charlotte, it was like the confidence that carried over tonight for IQ was beautiful, man. IQ was shooting threes off pick and roll, shooting threes off of, in transition. There was a play off an inbound where he was the baseline inbounder, threw it to a guy on like the baseline, basically a really short inbound pass, then ran inbounds and then caught it right behind and got the pass right back from that same person he passed it to, and it just immediately fired the three. And I was like, this is the stuff that he wasn't really doing when he was playing with all the other guys available. Like the aggressiveness tonight was awesome to see, and the effectiveness from IQ. People have been chastising him about the point guard play, and sometimes fairly so. But 17 points, 13 assists tonight, generating offense against a really good defense like the Celtics, who have a lot of good perimeter defenders to stop what IQ could do. I thought he did a great job tonight running the offense and just creating and playing fast and not hesitating too. Like, maybe I think saw him turn down one like driving layup and he kicked it out instead, but even that was like a good option. And again, the 13 assists is really impressive. By the way, the Raptors had 39 assists tonight, which is incredible. They had 45 made field goals and they assisted on 39 of those. So that was great. RJ honestly did a lot of the similar kind of stuff too. RJ was able to catch and shoot for three a couple times, drive to the rim. Ultimately, the Celtics did have a lot of rim protection, and so RJ got blocked a couple times going to the basket. The big news tonight is, unfortunately, RJ in the fourth quarter made a move going to the basket and rolled his ankle. It was his left ankle. He immediately went down and yelled in a fit of pain. Stayed on the ground. The Celtics got an and one the other way, and with the foul that allowed the stoppage in play. And RJ was just like, got up and immediately went back to the locker room. Got a little pat from Bobby Webster watching in the tunnel. It was just, I think Bobby's expression there kind of said it all in terms of just like that kind of like, fuck, man. Like he had just come back. He has had so many good moments since coming back as well. That last game against Charlotte, he had just taken over the fourth quarter and carried the scoring. The Raptors were still ultimately kind of in the game at that point as well. And just more than anything else, just to see RJ, who's an ultimate competitor, leave the game directly, that doesn't say a good thing about sort of how hurt he was in that moment. Obviously the first concern was like, oh my God, did he like redo the knee injury that kept him out for like a month plus? But as the point was made by Danielle Michaud on the Sportsnet broadcast, like it was the left ankle that he rolled this time, and last time it was the knee. So we'll see. Ultimately, it looked like a bit of a nasty ankle roll. He kind of rolled it like outward, right? He rolled it on the outside, so it's just really unfortunate. RJ's, again, like typically a very, very durable player. He makes himself available to play as much as possible. It hurt him a lot to miss 15 straight games, but when he came back, you saw the impact he had on the team. He had 29 points in one of those games as well. Last game, again, had the 16 in the fourth quarter. And this one, he was playing well. I mean, like defensively, he definitely, got lost a couple of times, and Celtics definitely made a point to attack him, and whatever. That's certainly something that RJ needs to get better at, especially off-ball defense. Like tonight, it just wasn't a good defensive game for him. But you still felt the sense of hope with like, okay, it's like a 7 or 8 point game in the fourth quarter with like 6 minutes to go. Like, RJ has a couple of baskets here or there. Ultimately, you could still be in this game and make it a game at the end. So it was a real shame to lose RJ. Of course, going the other way, it was also an and one. But like, whatever. But like RJ, I thought IQ, the two of those guys, like both generated a decent amount of offense between them. RJ, before leaving with injury, had 19 points and 7 assists. IQ had 17 points and 13 assists. Like those are all like just a huge amount of points generated. But of course, you needed the secondary guys. My worry for this game wasn't what RJ and IQ could do. It was really about what are the young guys going to do. And man, for some of these guys, like I was really impressed with how confident and how like aggressive they played. Nobody really backed down from the assignment. I think I saw lots of guys coming out and being aggressive. Jamal Shead, immediately knocking down 2 threes coming into the game. That's been great to see, because once he establishes the outside shot, now when he drives, first off, there's more closeouts on him. Now when he's able to drive, he gets in the paint, he touches the paint, he sprays it out. That's what you typically want from him. He was a pretty good engine of offense too, with 13 points and 8 assists. And in typical Jamal Shead fashion, like never really dominated the ball, but was just really opportunistic, and once in a while obviously went in for that little short push floater too. Thought he played really aggressive. He shared the backcourt with Alijah Martin a lot, which, on this show, you've heard us talk about Alijah. We literally just interviewed Alijah this week, and we put out that interview for everyone to listen to earlier today. So if you guys haven't checked that out, I really strongly recommend it. I know a lot of people are like, why am I going to listen to a two-way player be interviewed? Why can't you interview someone bigger? But at the same time, I thought it was like, first off, Alijah's been hooping, like doing a great job from the 905. And I know a lot of people are watching 905. Like, trust me, when I'm watching the YouTube stream on 905, I see like 80 concurrent viewers sometimes, right? So, like, I get it. Like, you're busy. There's lots of NBA games on. The Raptors play every other night. You might not be able to get in some 905 games, but it's okay. I was keeping an eye on it, and I really, really wanted to highlight what Alijah has been doing down there. And I had no idea that, like, obviously Scottie and Brandon will get injured, and there would be an opportunity for me to be called up. But this was actually perfect to see him, come out there and actually get on the floor. And I was again, like, yeah, I mean, I'm already kind of rooting for him anyway, just based on like, just I root for everybody that comes on the Hello and Welcome podcast. Okay, like there is a bit of a inherent like a sense of preference there, but Alijah came in the game first play, he gets the swing to him, he breaks down the defense, gets into the paint, stumbles a little bit, but gets into the paint, draws the attention, has heads turned, and he kicked it out to Jamal Shead for a three. It was really nice. And then the next play, he's guarding Payton Pritchard one-on-one and forces Payton Pritchard into a fadeaway that actually misses. And I'm just like, this guy just did the impossible. Okay, he just did the impossible. He actually did get a stop on Payton Pritchard. Like, that was just like the first impression. And then, of course, that continued over. He got into the end of the first quarter, played in the second quarter as well. He got a stop on Anthony Simons. One-on-one, Simons was definitely a problem in this game in terms of his outside scoring. I mean, it certainly gave the Celtics an even bigger sense of freedom with like how much he could do, because it was like, okay, once Payton Pritchard goes to the bench, like, what are they gonna still be as much of a threat off the dribble? And it was like Simons was just coming in and knocking down shots, but Alijah got a stop on Anthony Simons. He forced a turnover on a just chasing down a loose ball on the rebound, just like refusing to give that up on the sideline, and chased it out of bounds. And Jordan Walsh ultimately touched the last, so that's that's not a turnover, but it's like winning possession back for your team. He got another paint touch and he kicked it out to Jamal Shead for another three. And like, that was just a really strong first shift. And I was just like, wow, okay. Sometimes these two ways get called up from the 905, but it's like, you're going to get called up, but it's like, we're going to use it as a break in case of emergency. Today, there was a real plan by Darko to use all these guys. And I loved it. Like, I thought Alijah took that chance and ran with it. He continued in the second half. He got back in the game, and he played even more minutes in the second half. He matched up on Jaylen Brown, stripped him in the post. Well, like Jaylen Brown's like, okay, I'm 6'6", I 6'7" maybe, and I see a guy who's like 6'2". He's stocky, but he's 6'2". Like, I'm gonna try to post him up. And once he went for the turnaround move, like, Alijah was able to strip down and get the stop on Jaylen Brown. I'm like, that's one-on-one stopping Jaylen Brown, one-on-one stopping Payton Pritchard. Like, for a rookie coming in and just being able to provide hustle and being around the team, like, that was great. That was great to see. And then, yeah, he just kept making plays in that second half. I mean, basically, he got an early break into the fourth quarter just to get a bit of rest, but then he came right back in to have a second shift. And, man, that's usually reserved for starters. Like, if you got two shifts in the fourth quarter, like, that's typically means that the coach really trusts you to close. But I mean, not only was Darko having to get creative with how he played and what lineups he played, but he had to sort of figure it out as he went. He didn't know, there's no way he could tell you with certainty what he was going to get with some of these guys. But Alijah ended up being his go-to defender on Jaylen Brown. Like, that's impressive, man. That was really, really fun. So I'm just really like proud of sort of how he performed in the performance here, and I'm hoping that he gets more chances. I do ultimately think that the Raptors, based on his situation, like, the Raptors obviously had so many like guards and like basically smaller shooting guards on the team already, and ultimately Alijah kind of projects to be sort of that off-ball guard. So he's competing for those two guard minutes. So once the Raptors drafted the 39th, it was like, okay, I like this pick. I've definitely, looked into it, and he looks like a strong prospect. But at the same time, like, is he going to be able to get to play, considering how many, his players are ahead of him in that exact spot in his rotation? And those guys have largely been healthy as well, which is good. But, given a chance to actually come in and perform, like, can he actually make the most of these opportunities? I thought that was great to see from him. But even guys like Mobo, Mobo has also, dutifully like taken shifts in the 905 this year. He's kind of been, again, like the forgotten man this year because of the fact that they brought in CMB. They brought in Mamu. Even Brandon plays a little bit of 4. Like, all these guys playing the minutes that Mobo, did play for them last year. But, we saw last year, Mobo's not a bad player. Like, he has energy, he has hustle. He gets on the glass. He's a versatile defender. He knows how to make a pass. I thought he came in today and just like used his energy and athleticism and got a couple of deflections, kind of played his game. And ultimately, being a +1 in a game where the Raptors, lost by 8, like that, I think that was a strong effort. I thought Grady Dick, came in this game and, as always, Grady feels like he's on tilt, like playing almost a little bit too hard, almost stumbling. Like, no, if you're talking about who stumbles the most per game on the Raptors, Grady's got to be amongst the tops there. But I think you just continue to see the intention. One of the best plays of the game for me was, Grady's guarding Jaylen Brown on a switch. It was not ideal, but he was guarding Jaylen Brown, and Brown's driving downhill, and Alijah actually reached in and got a hand to disrupt the ball, and then that allowed Grady to then wrap his hand on the ball as well and force a jump ball as Jaylen Brown tried to jump up for the shot. On that jump ball, you're like, okay, it's freaking Grady Dick versus Jaylen Brown. Is this really going to work? Well, it was actually a really heads-up play by Grady, because on the jump ball, instead of tapping it backwards towards where the majority of his teammates were, Grady actually tapped it forward towards only where Alijah could really catch it, and basically sparked Alijah onto a fast break. Alijah gets out on the break, and you're like, okay, he's mostly there, but at the same time, the Celtics have one of the best shot-blocking guards in the league, if not the best shot-blocking guard in the league, in Derek White. He's closing down on him in transition. I'm like, okay, Alijah, you better go, and you better take it strong. Well, I mean, you don't need me to tell him that. Alijah went up and he dunked it, like, and Jaylen Brown or White just got just a little bit into the poster, but it was a really heads up play though by Grady Dick, and I like seeing Grady being aggressive and attacking. There's a play where in transition Grady was on the break, and again Jaylen Brown's looking at Grady Dick like, okay, I'm already here in position. What are you gonna do? Finish around me? Like, I'm gonna try to take a charge and see what you're gonna do. And Grady Dick like did a little like sidestep, kind of to like go a slightly around Jaylen Brown, faked it up with the right hand, and then switched hands and went up with the left for the reverse. Like, that was a really delicate and very difficult finish, considering how fast he was going as well with the momentum. Like, I thought Grady actually acquitted himself well. Now, he couldn't really get the threes to drop. This has been his whole season, but, I thought Grady actually was in there for some decent minutes. It was even for guys like AJ, AJ got in the game, in substituting Alijah out the game. So it's like one 905er for another 905er. And, AJ immediately knocked down the 3, like literally within like the first minute he got into the game. Probably the first touch of the game, he was open in the corner, he knocked down the 3. He couldn't maintain that, momentum, but he got some good looks in the threes. He was not hesitating. I thought he played fine. Like, there's just a lot of like stronger performances from the young guys, like Jacoby. He was probably the one guy where like, he just couldn't hit these threes, and like, how's this gonna go if he's the starting shooting guard and he's not knocking down these threes? Well, in the second half, Jacoby was keeping them alive and keeping hope in any sort of potential comeback by knocking down some threes on the perimeter. The Celtics went to zone for a couple of possessions, which I don't know if they typically go to zone, to be honest, but zones have been so effective across the board against the Raptors of late, especially against the second unit, that like, why not try a zone? So they went to a zone. Jacoby knocked out a couple threes as well in that stretch too. Like, I thought Jacoby did really well for himself. Ended up with 19 points, which actually led all Raptors. This got to be like the first or second time ever he's led the team in scoring. He shares, 19 is a co-share of the lead with RJ. But yeah, Jacoby was able to knock down some threes, was able to knock down a little mid-range. Like, it was just kind of fun seeing these guys play with freedom. Ultimately, obviously, this is a much worse team without guys like, Scottie, Brandon, and Jakob Poeltl. But for a game where, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to take to beat the Celtics eventually. Like, maybe one day it'll happen again, but, it's certainly not going to be today. And it hasn't been, this season. The Celtics have thoroughly beat the Raptors, no problem. But, on a game where you go into this game basically just hoping to see something, maybe a decent fight, you're not expecting a result. You just want to see how they compete. I mean, I was really proud of how the young guys competed. So, yes, the Raptors lost, and this was a chance for the Raptors to go into a tie with Boston for third, but like, it wasn't really about that. To be honest, my big concerns right now are just, is RJ okay? Is Scottie, Brandon, and Jakob any closer to coming back? Doesn't seem to be anything too serious with both Scottie and Brandon. So hopefully those guys are back, soon, as soon as this weekend. Jakob looks like there's like real momentum towards him coming back. So especially in 2 games against Joel Embiid, I would love for the Raptors to have their lone 7-footer out there. And yeah, like hopefully, my big takeaway is just like hopefully these young guys can like be this aggressive and play this free even when they're in more limited roles. And honestly, that's hard. That's hard to say. Like I know it's so much easier said than done because if the opportunity cost of Jacoby taking 12 shots is that means Brandon Ingram's not taking 18 shots. Well, yeah, obviously I want Brandon Ingram to take those shots instead of Jacoby, but there still has to be something to be said about like, okay, you get this freedom to play, and if you can play with this type of confidence even in normal games, that would help a lot because a lot of the second unit guys, like they really struggle offensively, and sometimes it looks like they can't really play. But now that we've seen them in an expanded role, like they can play, and I hope they take some confidence out of this. And honestly, and also like, it is worth noting that the one guy who didn't get into this game is Ochai Agbaji, who's dressed, like everyone else who was dressed. Well, I guess Garrett Temple, but I mean, whatever, right? So it's like the only guy who was dressed but didn't play was Ochai Agbaji. That's got to sting for him because I know last season when the Raptors went to Boston, Ochai was starting and everything. But, based on this game, like, I don't want to overreact, but I do feel strongly, especially watching like what they've done so far, is just like a guy like Alijah is like right there ready to step in and replace a lot of what Ochai does and be better at it. So I'm sure a lot of these situations will be cleared out after the trade deadline. These seasons are always a little bit awkward. We're always like, okay, let's make this guy do this guy do this. There's the whole management of the team. We understand it to some degree, but I did think it was interesting though on a game where again Raptors were begging for minutes, especially on the perimeter. They didn't even play Ochai at all. And in that sense, the replacements actually came in and did a really good job. So, yeah, no complaints here. That's my assessment basically. Is I expected to lose, and I had fun watching the Raptors compete. So, I wanted to take a quick break, hear from our partners, and of course, when we come back, wanted to take your questions in the call.
This segment is presented by Table Fare and Social. Get your pregame bites and after-work drinks at Table. It's at a great location right across the street from Scotiabank Arena and just steps away from Union Station and the Metrolinx bus terminal. Will, what are we having at Table Fare and Social?
Well, they got one of our favorites in the city, Alouette.
Ooh.
And of course, Alouette. Incredible food.
The wedge salad?
The wedge salad, exactly. Imagine you're about to watch a Raptors game, you're about to watch a Leafs game, you're about to catch a concert at Scotiabank, and beforehand, we get together, get a couple of drinks at Alouette, get that salad. We're ready for anything, man.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of options at Table Fare and Social. This is your go-to spot. Next time you're off to a game, check out Table Fare and Social, a downtown food hall right across from the arena for some great pregame bites and drinks.
Okay, we're back. Thanks for leaving your questions in the chat. Our super intern, Karem, is going through and watching the chat. He has starred so far 31 of these, so that's a lot, but we'll see if we can actually get to 31. Hey, first off, shameless plug, man, but the top comment here, Alijah, fresh off a Willow interview, love to see it. I promise you, this was not like me having inside information, knowing that he was gonna play, and therefore let's get the interview done and push it. Okay, like I swear, we've been trying to do this interview with Alijah for probably the last month or so. The first idea was like, okay, Raptors 905 are on like a freaking 15 game win streak. I'd love to cover that team at least a little bit. I know everyone's focus is mostly on the big club, but like, I mean, come on now. 905 being in 15-0 was really impressive. So we tried to reach out around then, but they obviously they were in Orlando too for the showcase. Then it was the holidays, and so it basically got pushed back to like this first week. But yeah, it was, huge thanks to obviously the 905 for, organizing that interview. Apologies, honestly, on my part, just, definitely I went overtime with Alijah, but, it tends to happen. I'm sorry. I really lost track of the time. But yeah, like it was, I think his story was just like, he was clearly growing as a player down there. I mean, the Raptors did have Three rookies, I suppose, come in this year with Colin Murray-Boyles, Elijah Martin with the 39th pick, and then Chucky Hepburn was the undrafted signee. Honestly, Chucky's done well too. He's unfortunately gone down with a knee injury. They just announced that he's got surgery to repair a torn meniscus, so he's gonna be out 6 weeks, which is very unfortunate for Chucky. But I think it's a good sign the Raptors are actually keeping him around too, because I think they see something there. Like Chucky was certainly the lead guard of the team, and he was pretty good defensively and was very aggressive offensively, to be honest, early in the season for the 905. But Alijah had been playing great, and so I was just like, okay, like this is the other rookie. He's kind of forgotten about, but I mean, 39th pick is not nothing, right? Like it's certainly a real investment, and I know he's got like fans in Darko and Bobby in particular. So it was like, okay, like shit, like let's give him at least some sort of coverage, some sort of shine. I mean, we talk about Colin Murray-Boyles on the show every day. Especially of late, he's been playing so well, but there's another rookie that was drafted along with him. And I'm happy for Alijah. I mean, he's also just a good interview too. Like if you haven't listened to it already, I hope you guys get a chance to listen to it. This is the second time we interviewed him. We also interviewed him in Summer League. But yeah, he's just kind of oozing with confidence. But he also has a nice sense of humor about himself. And, a lot of that makes for like a good interview, I happen to know a lot of people around him too. So, I was able to get some good intel on him as well. But ultimately it was just kind of fun talking to him. It was a good time. Just go listen to the interview if you haven't already. The reaction from the chat though, Elijah Martin is a dog. He caught a body tonight. Yeah, he caught the body of Derek White. Colin Murray-Boyles caught the body of Payton Pritchard. Like, it was, we left here with something. It wasn't like we came out of here with nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I thought, yeah, I mean, Alijah, the fact that he's getting trusted to guard, like Jaylen Brown, like there's another one coming here. And again, there's a lot of the chat really took notice of what Alijah did tonight. It wasn't just trying to, me highlight him because of the fact that I'm kind of partial to the kid right now. But, we also have the chat here saying in Elijah's first real NBA minutes, he was asked to guard the number 4 guy in MVP odds, who's also a solid 5 to 6 inches taller than him. This is Jaylen Brown. He actually did a damn good job. Elijah's definitely an NBA player. It's like, yeah, I think so, man. I mean, the funny thing is like, to all of us, it looks weird when like a guy this short is guarding, guys significantly taller. Jaylen Brown's like a small forward. But if you would ask Alijah, and I have asked him, in these interviews, like he's actually had to do this a lot in college. Now, granted, like there's no Jaylen Brown in college. Okay, like just be real clear about that. But like he's spent seasons guarding primarily threes in the college level when he played for Florida Atlantic University, like, and they went to the Final Four, so that was a really good team. But it was like 3 small guards, and Alijah would like played up and guarded up. So like part of the physicality and sort of like, guys aren't able to sort of get around him easily, and he obviously moves his feet quick, but he's got the low center of gravity. Like a lot of those traits, like he's been able to hone not just in the 905, but even in his collegiate career, right? So when he was out there to guard Jaylen Brown, I was just like, first off, I mean, number one, Darko trusts him, right? Because it's like you got to put the guy you trust the most to guard the biggest threat on the other team, right? And that's what he did. But the other thing is just like he can do it, and he has some experience doing it, and I think that will give him some real versatility. Like I think the big goal for him this year is like if Ochai ultimately gets moved to the deadline and the Raptors create some more room. I mean, first off, for all two-way guys, their biggest goal, the first goal is to get converted into a standard contract, maybe then sign a multi-year contract. And certainly the Raptors are no threat in terms of just like, they have like, I think 50 days on each two-way contract. So, this season they haven't had to, like, I think they've been hitting all the rest of the season basically without burning Elijah's, eligibility on the two-way. But ultimately, like, you probably want to be able to convert him because like, you can already see he's at an NBA level, and he's also an older rookie too. He played 5 years in college, so I believe he's already 24. It's like so small stuff like that. But again, like you have a guy who's like there, who's able to play two-way, and we're just not quite using him because we have so much depth. But I think that's sort of like where you would look to ideally balance out the roster. But yeah, he played really well. Again, we got more money here. Oh, hold on. Why did I unstar that? My bad. I gotta stop unstarring these things. There we go. Shankar, who sent in $7, thank you. Raptors played with that spirit of Kyle Lowry out there tonight. CMB, Alijah were both so active on defense. P.S. nickname for pitch for CMB, Combo. Please rate. I don't know. I don't really like Combo. What does Combo really ultimately mean, really? I've heard some of the other ones too. I know S at RR has been pushing Magneto. I'm not a big I don't know, comic book or movie fan, so like I'm maybe Magneto's bald. I mean, CMB's like got beautiful hair. Um, I kind of like RCMB, just like a Canadian tie-in, and him, stopping people. But I don't know, maybe we shouldn't be celebrating armed forces right now, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. You know, I think they also put in who's hold on, what did the team call him? I was reading Grange's story about Colin Murray Boyles today at sportsnet.ca, and I think Mamu gave him a nickname. It was like yeah, it was like Colin Murray and then Beast, a word that started with B, so he got the CMB, but it was like maybe CM Colin Murray Beast or something. I don't know. I do like the theme of the two rookies though. Both like very defensively minded, both really physically tough. Um, I think that that's sort of what this team needs to move toward. I think we see the successful teams around the league, and obviously a lot of these guys are older, but like, New York certainly a very physical team. Boston, you see tonight, very physical team. Even the rookies are physical, right? Last game when the Raptors beat the Celtics, I was crashing out. I'm like, how are you getting pushed around by Luka Garza and Hugo Gonzalez? Like, those guys are just big. Gonzalez is like 19 years old. The guy's like a man child. It's crazy how built he is already. Um, but yeah, like, a lot of Detroit. Like, no one's more physical in the league than Detroit. You know what I mean? Like, all these like successful teams, especially in the Eastern Conference, really built off that physicality. And I want the Raptors to sort of like, follow that formula. And quite frankly, like, with the way they drafted this year, like that was certainly a focus of theirs. Like they drafted two-way guys. CMB's a two-way guy. Alijah's a two-way guy. And Chucky, when he's healthy, like, he's also a two-way guy. He's not as physical, but he's very scrappy in terms of how he gets deflections and stuff. So, wow, we got a lot of Alijah comments. And Alijah might need some playing time, though. Goddamn, he's good. He's good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, visually, you can see him. He's good. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even some of those things where sometimes you got to, like, kind of squint and, like, kind of point to the potential and point out one or two plays. Like, you just felt, like, safe out there. Like, he made good plays. He was physical. He was tough. He didn't really get rattled with any of the situations ahead of him. Again, he was guarding Jaylen Brown, like primarily guarding Jaylen Brown in the second half. Like this is a huge thing for any rookie to do, man. But I thought he did well with it, And credit to Darko, because I know Darko was like a big fan of him in the draft process too. Like, when the coach is one of your big proponents, then when he gets a chance to actually play you finally, when you're finally called up because the guys are injured. He trusted him, and he trusted him in one of the biggest jobs. So I was really happy for him, man. Really happy for him. Yeah, this is kind of my general sentiment too with this. Is just not really mad about this one. We really played with heart. I mean, we did play with a lot of heart. I mean, we did play from behind most of the game too, but they also made like two separate comebacks. At one point, the Raptors got the lead down to 3 points in the third quarter, and they got the lead down to 6 points in the fourth quarter. Actually, when they were down 6, Alijah got the ball in the kick out, and he was like, I don't know, he hesitated. And had to reset his feet and shoot the three, and it was an open shot, but like it kind of took himself out of rhythm, and he shot that thing just a little bit flat. Had he made that shot, man, the momentum was there, man. Raptors were making a comeback, and like honestly, it was impressive to see the Raptors like force timeouts out of the Celtics. When they started the fourth quarter, the Raptors were down. They threw an alley-oop to Mamu. Alijah hit a three after a driving kick sequence with IQ. IQ hit a transition push shot to cut it to 6 points. Like all those things were like really nice. Like even just like getting the Celtics to like remain in the fight was kind of an impressive thing onto itself. Of course, the Celtics had an answer every time, so I credit them for how well they play. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun to see the Raptors secondary guys compete like that. Schedule loss, Grady got some shots up. I can't complain. Can't win the East if we got these small itty-bitty guards. Our team just got bodied. I think there's, to some degree, yes, I do agree with that. Like, the Raptors were pretty undersized. Like, at times today, and again, obviously, you missed, two of your bigger players in Scottie and Brandon, and actually your biggest player in Jakob. So, like, you're obviously missing a significant amount of size out there. But you saw some lineups today that were, like, IQ, Jamal Shead, Elijah Martin, Grady Dick at power forward, which is kind of unbelievable, and then Jonathan Mobo at center. It's like you're undersized literally at every position except maybe point guard. You know what I mean? Like it's It's kind of incredible. I mean, the thing is, if you're going to play that small, you got to play extra tough. And tonight, honestly, I think like the last time the Raptors lost to the Celtics, like Boston's offensive rebounding just absolutely matched the Raptors, right? Like I was losing my mind over like Garza having like 9 offensive rebounds. Tonight, the Celtics had 10 offensive rebounds. The Raptors having 9 offensive rebounds. The rebounding battle was, pretty much even. I mean, the Raptors got less defensive rebounds because Boston made more shots, but like the rebounding wasn't really the issue tonight. Now, granted, size is a thing, and of course, like where the size presented itself was the Raptors obviously really had to commit extra bodies to Keita. Keita once in a while was able to just like jump and finish over the top of the Raptors. I mean, he does that to a lot of teams, to be fair, but certainly the Raptors didn't have that sort of size at the rim to rotate and block shots. That's why Boston was able to score a lot at the rim. Like, I'm not saying the Raptors don't need size or that size is not important, but I do think that, like, if you're going to play small, those small guys got to be tough as hell. They got to be like Jamal Sheads and Elijah Martins. And in that sense, like, yeah, at least they have the small guys with the mentality to play big. Mobile was a pleasant surprise. I agree, man. I mean, Mobile has gotten, like I've said, he's kind of like the forgotten man. This season, he hasn't been able to play much. He's been mostly with the 905. He's been called up and down, whatever, right? I mean, last year he was much more prominent. He's playing a lot of minutes this year. He really has not been, and is often kind of forgotten about. But, I credit him for coming in and just playing his game, like he was scrappy. He caught some lobs, took a strong with the left, like, not bad. Raptors have a thing for left-handed bigs, man. Him and Mamu both just going to the left hand a lot of the time. What else, man? Yeah, I thought Grady's played decent in the second half. I think that's absolutely true. Like, he's the thing with Grady is like he's not like a he it's tough because he basically only gets like 2 shifts a game. And if he screws up, you kind of see the confidence start to drain out of him a little bit. Like right now, he feels like he got really confident and he loses confidence really quickly as well. Like he's kind of swinging a lot. You could tell sort of in his like body language almost like the level of like pressed and confidence, that he's like lacking in that sense. Like that's why he's pressing so much. But yeah, I mean today he felt like okay, he could make a couple of mistakes, he could miss a couple of shots, and he could still stay in the game. Mostly because the Raptors had injuries, and he stuck with it. And sometimes for a lot of young guys, like it is really hard to just be effective in limited minutes, man. Like that's a role that is hard for a lot of people, but at least for veterans, like they have a better sense of like where they're gonna play, and they, the older you get, like the better of a baseline you get in sort of like your overall self-confidence. And for Grady to be out there at 22, like I mean, this is his 3rd year, but like you compare him to Alijah, for example, like Grady's turning 22, Elijah's 24. You know what I mean? Like for Grady, like he's trying to figure all this out. This is also kind of it's not a contract year considering he has an option for next year, or it has a contract. It's already been picked up, but like most 3rd-year players look to sort of get paid off of those rookie scale extensions when they open up. Like I'm sure there's lots of stuff on Grady's mind, but yeah, tonight he was at least able to sort of like play more free. And I think for his game, like he's a wild spirit, bro. You can't contain Grady. He's got to play free, man. He's got to run around, you know what I mean? So, more on Martin. Martin looked physical on defense, winning 50-50 balls, which is a huge plus after seeing Grady, Ochai, Walter play this season. That's one of the things, too, is just he's just physically, like, he's just really tough. You know what I mean? Like, Ochai is also physically built as well. Like, both of those guys are, like, have the Popeye arms and everything. But, I don't know, man. Alijah, like, he just has like a nose for the ball. Like he'll just fight. Like even in Summer League, remember? I don't know if everyone here watched Summer League, but I was there in attendance. Raptors played the Nuggets Summer League team, and there was a whole fight on the sideline, and part of that just started with like Alijah fighting for a guy for a loose ball on the sideline as it was bouncing out of bounds, and he bumped a guy, and the guy like fell over the scorer's table. Alijah took a big bump there too, but like this guy's tough, man. Have you watched any of Florida as well? And the thing is like. I started the interview with him that we released today. The first thing I said to him was just like, there's one word that keeps coming up when I talk to the people around you is that everyone says you're a winner. And it's like, this guy was a starter that took 2 separate schools to the Final Four, right? He took Florida Atlantic University to the Final Four. They came within a shot of making the actual finals itself in the NCAA. And that's a very small school when you think about like FAU. Like, come on, man. That's not exactly Duke or Kentucky. You know what I mean? And then, obviously, he transferred to Florida in his final year. And then you talk to anybody at Florida, they all talk about how much Elijah's presence coming into the program him being able to call out people. He's very vocal. He's very mature. He's very he's, like he just commanded the sense of respect, and like, he elevated that program. I mean, Florida's always a good team, but he elevated that program to literally being the point where they're national champions. And so, like, this is a player who's been involved in a lot of winning. I think sometimes the Raptors have done this too, where like they've obviously drafted a player based on like talent and measurables and physique and whatever, like maybe perceived upside or whatever mentality. But there's something to be said about like guys who have been involved in a lot of success. It was the same thing with Fred with like what he did with Wichita State. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he got that type of school, him and Ron Baker was able to take that thing to like the Final Four and stuff, like stuff that matters. You know what I mean? You play in the NCAA tournament and you're actually able to, sustain and receive all that pressure and still find ways to compete and win. Like, I think that really reveals character, that reveals ability as well. And I think Alijah sort of like had a similar path in that sense. So, I mean, there's a reason why the Raptors, like, they honestly, everyone was screaming for the Raptors to take a big with the 39th pick. And there were a couple guys on the board. Like, they could have taken like Maxime Renault, for example, who ultimately went to the Kings. Maybe another big. I don't even remember what the shape of the draft looked like now. It was Kalkbrenner available. Kalkbrenner would have been decent too, but like, yeah, like the reason they reached for Martin is they saw something that they really, really liked there, qualities that they wanted to add to their program. And, I know everyone hasn't been paying attention to the 905, and I don't blame anyone for that, but, like, he's also been a huge reason why they've won so much in the 905 as well. Like, so yeah, great game for him, man. This is the most anyone's ever talked about Alijah Martin in the span of a day. So I'm happy Alijah Martin's getting so much coverage, man. He deserves it. He played well tonight. Everyone gets the whistle against Toronto. I'm used to it. It took half the season before the refs gave Kawhi the benefit of the doubt. You know what? The one thing I will have to say, and this is again, like, Darko's done a great job. And even for me, who I was skeptical how Darko operated in the first year of the job, and even at points last season, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna, I'm fickle. What can I say? I'm fickle, man. I'm a very demanding person. I love the Raptors a lot. The person whoever manages the team, they're gonna it's never gonna be only positive. You know what I mean? Both management and also coaching. I have to say, Darko's done an amazing job with the team this year, right? The culture on the team is great. Everyone swears by sort of how well that the group gets along. They play, unselfish basketball. Tonight they had 39 assists on 45 field goals. Like, that's absurd, bro. You tell me there's only 6 unassisted field goals? How's that even possible? You got to steal and you go the other way and you dunk it. That's unassisted. Like, it's unbelievable, right? So he's done a lot of great stuff. Like, young guys are growing. He's gotten the best level out of Scottie. Brandon he's come in and gelled in and fit his game into this team perfectly. The one thing I will have to say though, because again, I'm fickle, okay? I realize I'm fickle. But the one thing I have to say is, can we get better with the challenges? Sometimes I feel like we just throw the challenges away. Today there was a challenge where there was like a strip on the ball. It was like maybe a free throw, but realistically, it looked like it was a strip on the, like, it looked like it was a foul. They reviewed it. It was a foul. And they ultimately just lost the review. And then at several times in the fourth quarter, when the Raptors making this comeback, there were a lot of plays. Like, I remember one play where Jaylen Brown went to the basket and it was all ball, but they called a foul. It's like, I wish we had the challenge for this, man. Like, we can't just like throw the challenge away. Like, I know sometimes like the challenge can be used like in a motivational tactic of like, okay, like the other game, for example, the Raptors used a challenge early on because Brandon Ingram rotated the basket, blocked a shot, and they called it a foul initially. But they challenged it because they were like, we want to encourage Brandon to keep rotating at the basket because we need his rim protection tonight. And it's not something he typically excels at, but like we want him to do more of it. So we'll use the challenge to reinforce like this activity. It's like you're rewarding him for that. And sometimes you're using the challenge just because like you want to prevent foul trouble for one of your star players or whatever, right? But ultimately, like, just it sucked to have wasted that challenge because there were lots of calls in the fourth quarter that really, really could have helped on that front. And I know they're getting better on it too. This is a good point by the chat. They're over 500 in challenges. Last year they were basically exactly at 500. What you might say is like, what's wrong with that? That should be like average. That's not average. When you get a chance to review a play, you should be above average because you have the benefit of replay. But in any case, I guess what I'm saying is I wish we had the challenge to use in the fourth quarter. That's all. Again, I'm very, very happy with what Darko has done with the team this year. Bobby Webster was in attendance tonight too by the locker room exit. Yeah, I mean Bobby's been around the team every game. I haven't seen him one game where Bobby's not been around. Um, yeah, I mean it's funny because he's inherited the tradition, the Raptors tradition of the general manager just like lurking in the tunnel. That move was started by Brian Colangelo. This is way back in like 2006, 2007, like when he first joined the Raptors. Like he was always lurking in the tunnel and he had the high collars on, and he's a pretty tall guy, so you can like kind of see over the top and watch from that like that corner where the basically the Raptors tunnel is to go to the locker room. Then of course Masai, who worked under Colangelo, he took over that same move, and Masai used to be right there by the tunnel. I think one of the other advantages of the tunnel is they usually put the silent reporter there as well, so Kayla or Danielle will be like sitting there as well, and then there's a TV there, so you can watch it in live action, but if you want to see a replay on the TV, you could also peek over at the monitor. And then, yeah, Bobby's now, again, as Masai's protege, like, he's now taking up that little tunnel perch spot. So, I don't know. It's kind of cool that they're basically all doing the same thing. But, yeah, I mean, Bobby's been super involved. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. I've seen Keith Pelly around the team, like, a ton, too. So, it's, yeah. I'm not going to say any more about that, actually. But I'm pleasantly surprised with how often management is around. Payton Pritchard is the kryptonite of the Raptors. Yeah, absolutely, man. What did he have tonight? What did Payton Pritchard have tonight? 27 27, 5, and 8. Yeah, that's probably what he just averages against the Raptors, man. You know what? Against the Celtics, it's just called the Payton Pritchard Award, okay? Everyone else is going to be the Gerald Henderson Award. Against the Celtics, it'll be the Payton Pritchard Award. It's freaking ridiculous, man. It's incredible. This is the time for the bench players and two ways to develop. Need to find the silver lining with injuries. Yeah, I mean, yes, for sure. Obviously, like, it's a long season. You know what I mean? Like, there's gonna be harder stretches, gonna be easier stretches. Obviously, the Raptors feasted a little bit on their easier stretches to start the year, and that really helped them gain a buffer, and that's kept them high in the standings. But I wouldn't really obsess over like who's where in the standings right now. Like, I think the bigger thing is like, how are the Raptors building a level of consistency? Where are the strengths and weaknesses? Are there improvements? Are guys going, more trending downward? Are we finding the right role for people? Are they healthy? And being able to manage through some of that, I mean, obviously on a post-game show like this, we're always going to react to exactly what we just saw. So we're sort of more like, prisoners of the moment. We're just in the moment right now. That's just the moment of the present. But I think in the bigger picture, like, yes, you would like to sort of see sort of those positive trends, and that's where I just hope to see the Raptors like starting five just stay healthy for a little while, because when they were healthy to start the year, they did great. Like, they had a really nice run, and of course a lot of that's been derailed because Jakob's had the worst back of all time, and RJ went out for a month, and hopefully RJ's back, and Brandon has been healthy but he missed the time today, and Scottie, you know what I mean? So like, it's frustrating. I mean, I don't know. Most teams in the NBA do have some injuries to their starting lineup, so it's not like the Raptors are especially or particularly snake bitten. I understand that we're kind of in actually a pretty good spot with injuries, but ultimately, like, if we can just have that, and then, if we don't have that, then hopefully the young guys grow. Then those are only things you can really hope for. You know what I mean? And some of these young guys, like, they've already started contributing. Like, CMB's contributed to some huge wins recently. Jamal, Jacoby have their moments too, and I'm just waiting on like Grady, if he can find any sort of rhythm. Alijah, if he can finally get some minutes. You know what I mean? Like, there's a couple of young guys there in between that could really help contribute to this time and just make the most of it. You know what I mean? Just make the most of it. Why do Grady and Ochai struggle so much this year? This is the question we got asked every game. Ochai, I'm not gonna lie, he feels like he lost the confidence in his three ball, and last year he really improved his three ball. I think last year he worked with Grady like kind of all summer. The two of those guys obviously having both are Kansas guys, right? So, but yeah, I mean, last year it was like very noticeable that Ochai came in with a pretty refined, well, not refined, but consistent 3-point release, especially on corner threes. Even watching warm-ups now, like, he looks really inconsistent from the shots, and I don't know. I mean, hopefully he can find that thing back, because he doesn't really have a lot of ball skills. Like, even for a guard, he doesn't really have, like, I'm not even asking for the world, you know what I mean? Like, even Alijah, he probably has, like, average handles right now, but, like, it could still take you to certain places, and then you can drive and kick out and stuff like that. You barely ever saw like Ochai do that. You know what I mean? And it just limits you so much. Like he kind of plays like a 3-and-D wing, but I don't know, not having the in between ball skills, it just really ultimately limits you. You know what I mean? So, and then Grady, I don't know, man. He's pressing with the shot. It's really it sucks to see. Okay, I like this one actually because I need a Coors for this one. Yeah, I mean, I could have told you before the game, and you see the Raptors play the Celtics on their schedule, man. You got to put that Coors in the fridge. You know what? You see the Raptors play the Celtics on their schedule, you got to make a trip. You got to go to CoorsLightShop.ca, all right, and you got to find where you can get Coors Light. You grab that thing, you put it in the fridge well in advance, not even just before the game. I'm talking about the day before the game. Okay, put that thing in the fridge. You got to understand, you got a long night ahead of you watching Raptors Celtics, okay? So, again, playing the Celtics can be stressful, but your choice of beer does not have to be. Coors Light delivers mountain cold refreshment. Yeah, when the mountain turns blue on the can, that's when the beer is as cold and as refreshing as the Rockies themselves. So, when the Raptors play the Celtics, whenever the Raptors play the Celtics, actually, why not make the chill choice by grabbing a crisp, refreshing Coors Light? Go to CoorsLightShop.ca to find Coors Light near you. Celebrate responsibly, and you must be of legal drinking age. Okay, we'll take a couple more before we wrap. There's not too much else to say about this game. I'm not gonna lie to you. What else we have? Take a couple new ones. Wow. Someone said, I hit that like button 1 second after getting in here. Yeah, I hope all of you guys do the same thing, man. You know what I mean? Definitely just like slap that like button as soon as possible. And hit that subscribe button too, man. Come on, I think we're a little bit off 12,200, you know what I mean, on YouTube. So just a couple more. You could be the 12,200th person. I guess that's a weird thing to say. No one's ever really said that before. But yeah, please help the channel, guys. Appreciate you guys. I don't like the communication from the staff. It's like Yak is ready to be back very soon, and then he's day to day, and then he's out. How long does he need to be out for? It's costing us games, and it's a lot for CMB. Yeah, recently, you're starting to see the message, and they're like, well, like CMB's done so well at center, like we don't maybe not need to get a center no more. And I'm like, no, guys, we're not gonna let you get away with this, okay? That's the Mo Bamba 10-day or whatever was cool. Not really. I mean, they didn't even play, but it was like, it's. Yes, he can be effective there, but similar to Scottie, it's like I do worry about like these young guys, especially smaller players, having to play center for long periods. There's a reason why like even bigger players like Anthony Davis didn't want to play center because they were like, it just wears on you, man. There's just like so much like physicality, particularly at that sport. There's more collisions in that position. They got more rotations. Like it's tough. Yes, CMB had been playing well as Jakob's like fill-in, right? But would certainly still like more reinforcement at that position. And first, again, like the biggest thing is with Jakob is just like, I think with him, it's just like, what are you gonna do? Like he's got a bad back, and they keep saying like some days he feels good, some days he doesn't. Well, if you're gonna have to live and die with this thing, like that's when you really need a backup, right? Like you can't even say, well, we have Jakob as our starter and we know that for sure. Like we don't know that for sure. All we know for sure is that his back is not right, and I think the communication does change. I'm in the press conferences, for example, where Dark was talking about like, well, he just basically needs 2 weeks and then he'll be fine. And then we give him we first off, we chose not to give him 2 weeks after the play-in, right? Because if the Raptors, between the play-in, which ended I think December 9th, between the play-in and ultimately when Jakob was ruled out, he played like 1.5 games. Like you could have just not used him for one of those half games. You could have rested him for a full, honestly, you probably could have rested him for like a full month at this point. But they basically haven't. And then they keep saying, well, like, well, okay, we'll give you an update next week. We'll give you an update next week. And then the last update was like, Jakob's progressing, man. He's going through non-contact. Now he's going through contact. But wait, hold on. The Raptors don't have practices because like they have a pretty busy schedule. So, they're not doing actual practices. They mostly do run-throughs, guys get shots up. But, they're not actually, they're doing like an encore, like when he goes here, you're supposed to go here. And when we double the ball here, this is how we rotate behind the ball to sort of cover, you know what I mean? But it's like a walkthrough. It's not like an actual practice. So like what contact is there to be? You know what I mean? Like you're literally just walking through a demonstration basically. So Um, I, yeah, I mean, I don't know. My hope is just that Jakob comes back and he actually stays and is able to play at his level. I'm sure he's frustrated as much as anybody with this situation. He's a good competitor and very solid professional, and I'm sure it hurts him to see himself not only physically in pain but not being able to play. I know the Raptors made a long-term commitment to him. That's unfortunate, especially with the back injury. I think in hindsight, you probably wouldn't have done that. But more than anything else, the Raptors also need him, man. I mean, you look at this game, for example, the next two games, Raptors playing the Sixers back to back. It's like, that's Embiid for 2 nights. Maybe one night, maybe he doesn't play both nights of the back to back, but you would at least like to have a 7-footer out there. You know what I mean? We're gonna put Scottie. We're gonna make Scottie guard Embiid again. Like every time Scottie has to guard Embiid, like he picks up like a couple fouls, then he's not as effective offensively. It's like you're sacrificing your best player just to solve a problem that like isn't his to begin with. You know what I mean? Like usually, ideally, because star players do so much, you try to put other players around that player to sort of like help him. Instead of Scottie being the one to sacrifice and help the rest of the team. I mean, whatever. Like it is what it is. It's just some random games in January, but yeah, I just hope Jakob's back at some point. Someone also sent in $5. Herbopotamus, just send in $5 with no message. Appreciate you. Just appreciate you in general. But yeah, thank you for that, and hope you get into that Hongqing dinner. Which, by the way, I don't know if they started selling tickets. I was just at Hongqing last night, and trust me, I was not making the chill choice there. I gotta remind myself to make the chill choice when I'm over there, man. It's always a good time with the Xing people. Shouts to Vince and Clement and Ella and Colin and the whole staff, man. All the NPCs. You know who they are. Just as I don't. The Raptors are still a tier below Boston, New York, and Detroit, but it's so much better watching them be competitive this year. Yeah, of course, man. I mean, this is like what the Raptors needed to have this season. Was like a serious season. Nobody's talking about tanking. No one's trying to make a bunch of excuses after losses. Although, I mean, once in a while you still hear. Obviously, Darko's, once in a while he'll go to like the patent, like the very slick, like, hey, we're in year 2 of a rebuild. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, all right. But like, you know what I mean? Like, they've played harder. They've held each other to strong standards. They've competed. They've tried to make the game as serious as possible. And for a lot of young guys, like they're kind of drowning a little bit, but they're forced to swim and keep up with the tide. And I want to see that. You know what I mean? Ultimately, it's a competition. And if guys aren't able to sort of keep that up, then it is very, very noticeable, and it's very useful information in terms of like who can hang and who can't. You know what I mean? That's ultimately how you evaluate. It's so much harder to evaluate in a situation where everyone's just getting garbage buckets in like perpetual garbage time, considering like that's what happened last season was. Like this is a much better sense of evaluation, and we get to see like who can actually play in games that matter. You know what I mean? So yeah, there we go. Bobby's also seen the 905 against Mississauga. Bro, Bobby's been working hard, man. It's also come on, it's the first year for Bobby where he's like number 1 top dog. Like I mean, he gotta not just show face. I mean, this is just how he works typically, but no, I mean, he's done a great job, you know what I mean? So, we also have the report from Michael Grange. Actually, I'll show you 2 tweets from Grange. Hold on. Just put these 2 together and throw them on the big screen here. Okay. So first we got an update about RJ Barrett, which is, I guess slightly positive, you might have to say. It's not negative. So first off, the update on RJ Barrett, Michael Range reports that, yeah, RJ had his left ankle in a deep bucket of ice post-game. X-rays, negative, etc., etc. He rolled it, stepping on Hauser's foot in the 4th quarter. He was cautiously optimistic it wasn't too severe of a sprain because it hadn't swelled up too much, but we'll know more in the morning, obviously. Yeah, it's a painful one. You never want to hear anyone in pain like that, but like hearing RJ's like just yelling in pain through the broadcast was like, damn, that sucks, man. Brings back bad memories, especially in Boston with people hurting their ankle. If you know, you know. I don't even want to mention it, man. And then another one. This is a quote from Darko Rakovic. When asked by Michael Grange post-game about no Ochai Agbaji tonight, he said coach's decision, added that, quote, he just made the decision to go with the other guys and give opportunity to other guys. So, no elaborate answers. I'm not expecting Darko to be ripping people post-game. If anything, he's not going to call you out. He's going to call you up. So, but literally he called some guys up from the 905 and he gave them minutes. And, for their sense, like, shit, I mean, you got to hop on a flight last second. You got to get over there. You got to play, you got to get adapted to a whole new team. To go through that whole hassle, like, I'm happy for both Alijah and RJ, and AJ, sorry, that they both got into the game and actually played and contributed. There you go. So, people thought I meant Gordon Hayward's injury. Brutal. Yeah. No, actually, I'm talking about another injury this is the Jorge Garbajosa injury. Okay, if you guys were too young, consider yourself lucky to see that live, man. That thing was absolutely horrendous, and it was nowhere near that level. Okay, so there you go. Okay, I think that's good for the chat today. Again, I appreciate you guys for sending a bunch of questions in and having a discussion amongst yourselves. Thank you guys for sending in money as well. I want to wrap it up with the 3 stars and the Gerald Henderson Award. Actually, today it should be the Payton Pritchard Award, which will be, of course, awarded to Payton Pritchard. But first, the 3 stars from tonight's performance. I'm going to give the first star to IQ, man. 17 points, 13 assists. Yeah, he was. He wasn't able to beat the Celtics, but he generated a lot of offense. I'm partially giving the first star because I just felt like he played with so much confidence, and I haven't seen that much from him of late. IQ does strike me as like a confidence player. Like, he has like a very like skilled game that, like, he requires you to be aggressive and confident, like hunting your shot to like execute. And yeah, I think especially after hitting the game winner and also today with all the freedom in the world to do what he wanted, like 17 and 13 is pretty good, man. Certainly was like the one generating most of the offense for the Raptors. Your second star, I will give that to. Honestly, I'll give it to Jamal. I thought Jamal played well too. 13 points, 8 assists off the bench. It's been a while since I've given Jamal a star. He sort of like has lost a little bit of prominence, but I like seeing him shoot the 3 confidently. That's something he's gonna have to really, really stay at and consistent at. You notice, right? Sometimes Jamal will shoot the 3, and you just got to watch the offhand. When the offhand goes flying off to the side like this, like, that shot almost never goes in, and he's got to find some consistency in holding the follow through, especially with his offhand, you know what I mean? Like, he shoots it, and it's just his hands just like fly apart. It's just a little strange to watch, but yeah, I thought Jamal was actually decently disruptive out there. And of course, based on how much chat we had about him in the chat today, congratulations on Elijah Martin. You're getting the 3rd star. I mean, is this partially because you came on Hello and Welcome? Yes, absolutely. But he also played well, man. I think that everyone kind of took notice. He scored his first career NBA basket tonight, which is nice too. But he has 7 points, 3 assists with a block in 15 minutes. Yeah, just did a lot of good stuff out there. Congratulations, Alijah. I hope they kept the game ball for him. That's his first career bucket in the NBA. That's really fun. Gerald Henderson, a.k.a. the Payton Pritchard Award, will be awarded, unbelievably, to Payton Pritchard, who, once again, mom spaghetti, man. I honestly, before the game, bro, I had the spaghetti on my sweater already. But, like, yeah, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 12 of 19 shooting. I mean, it wasn't even a lot of threes. Typically, Bears is with threes. Tonight, he only hit 3 of 5. But just so many short turnaround jumpers, and can we just trade for Payton Pritchard so that we don't have to face Payton Pritchard, man? I think that would single-handedly add like 2 or 3 wins from the game alone, man. So, yeah, that'd be real tough. Yeah, for people who want to check it out too, one last shameless plug from the chat. Your previous podcast with Martin was great. Yeah, absolutely, guys. Go listen to the interview with Alijah. We actually had done 2. We did one in Summer League as well, but yeah, we dropped one again earlier today. And yeah, I think he's a very personable guy, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, obviously you would like to listen to the interview to, like, find information and understand a person, but I think it was just also cool to just like chat with the guy and feel sort of his vibe, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was a good conversation. I encourage people to check that one out. And yeah, he's got a lot of confidence. I think he's ready to go. I think he's ready to play, and tonight he showed it. It really couldn't, timing wise, it could not worked out any better than this. There you go. So, all right, thanks everyone for listening. I appreciate you guys. I'll be back on Sunday. Raptors are going to play the actually one note I forgot to say at the top, but if you guys haven't already, obviously Marty Supreme is out in theaters. We probably mentioned it on this show a couple of times, but we're actually gonna do a film review series, and we're gonna sort of like try to do this once a month, where me and Alex go catch a film and we talk about it. Obviously right now Marty Supreme is like the biggest blockbuster in theaters right now, so Yeah, we'll get a chance to talk about it on Sunday night. So what's going to happen is on Sunday, first I'm going to talk about the Raptors-Sixers game, which is, I believe, a 4 p.m. game. So, no, it might be a 6 p.m. game. It's a 6 p.m. game, right? It's a 6 p.m. game. Sorry, I don't want to get confused. This is a 6 p.m. game. So we'll do the post-game show first, and then afterwards we'll do a double billing, and we'll actually come back and just talk about the film itself. So it'd be kind of fun. No, we're not doing the watch party, unfortunately, Tala, because of the fact that we actually couldn't get a screening done for this film just yet. I mean, it's still out in theaters. I think it's a little bit easier to sort of organize people to come out and watch a film when it's like an older film that's already been out for a while. I suppose we could have organized for like everyone to just watch one specific showing, but whatever. I guess timing wise, it also got a little bit jumbled up. Regardless, I trust you guys have seen it in theaters, or if you guys haven't, just like come listen to the show. I mean, sometimes you don't even need the context. Sometimes it's just fun to listen to the banter. So yeah, come in for Sunday. We'll have a double billing on Sunday as well. So thanks everyone for listening. Appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. And yeah, hopefully the Raptors can get some of their injured players back, man. I definitely would like to see the full team again.